1789, the First Amendment of the United States Constitution was ratified before Congress. Inside the First Amendment held several protections from the U.S. government. One of them was religion, and another one, most importantly, was speech. Now, although there were several more, speech, in my opinion, is the most important. Now, the First Amendment from the actual text reads that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, free speech is important because, like I said, it's covered under the First Amendment. There's always been a lot of controversy surrounding free speech because there's a lot of things. Free speech is a very gray area. Free speech does give you the right to say whatever you want about your government, but it doesn't give you the right to yell fire in a movie theater. So, the lines have always been a little bit blurred as to, what's free and what's not. There's been thousands of Supreme Court cases related to the First Amendment, especially free speech. Free speech is the most fundamental and important right given to us as Americans because it affects so many things. It affects the press, it affects your religion, it affects your ability to vote. There's so many issues that free speech grants that, without it, our country would be changed fundamentally. One very good example from recently dealing with the First Amendment and how it's not always convenient, even though we like to hold on to it as Americans, is the case of Imam Rauf, the man who wants to open up the Ground Zero Mosque. He's had a lot of bad things to say about America. He's even been kind of open about the fact that he doesn't like America. But the fact is, he is an American citizen, and so we have to allow him to say what he likes and practice his faith, no matter how much we dislike it or we don't want it around Ground Zero for whatever reasons we have. We must allow him to practice it, because if we do not, we risk being in serious trouble. And if we take the First Amendment away from one person, pretty soon everyone will lose it. It's a domino effect. You can't just pick and choose who gets free speech and freedom of religion. Everyone must have it, or no one can have it. And Imam Rauf is not the only person. Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who was a close advisor to Barack Obama before he became president, and his pastor, is guilty of pretty much a lot of the same hate speech. Two different religions, but the same hate speech in general. Very derogatory towards the United States, its dealings abroad. And I don't personally agree with either one of them. I think they're both, twisted individuals from what they have to say, but it is their right, and they are Americans, and they're allowed to say it. If we were to stop them because of what they say, then no one would be allowed to speak out, and that's very dangerous. Mark Goldwyn said the First Amendment was designed to protect offensive speech, because nobody ever tries to ban the other kind, which is a very good point. That quote is an awesome point by Mark Goldwyn, that if it's speech everyone enjoys, no one's trying to ban it. But when it's an opinion that other people find offensive is when it becomes speech that the First Amendment protects. Because if no one wants to ban it, then you can say it. But the First Amendment protects all types of speech. And I think it's important that we as Americans realize that it's not just speech that we agree with, it's all speech. And another unknown contributor, I found this quote and I thought it was very good, although I don't know who to credit it to, said the First Amendment is often inconvenient, but that it is beside the point, because inconvenience does not dissolve the government of its obligation to tolerate speech. And that's very important, that we realize that it's not, just because it's inconvenient doesn't mean we don't have to tolerate it. It's very inconvenient that they want to put a mosque right next to Ground Zero. I don't personally agree with it, but because of our Constitution, we must tolerate it. And in conclusion, free speech is very important because, like I said, it leads the way into many other rights. Without free speech, there would be no freedom of the press. There would be no freedom of religion. You know, there would be no freedom of assembly. All these things that we hold dear as Americans, and a lot of us take for granted, would be gone if we didn't have free speech. There's a lot of Western countries who don't have free speech. If you go to Europe, there are a lot of countries where if you say the wrong thing, you will get thrown in jail for what is called hate speech. So it's not a right that a lot of people have. It's very rare in the world today to have it. America is one of the few countries that actually does have complete and total free speech, that you can say whatever you want. And it safeguards the people from an oppressive government. Last is that it just, you know, when you take away free speech, the government then has the power to come in and crack down. Like in Germany, where it is against the law to question the Holocaust, you know, no matter how wrong I feel that is, here you can do that, and it safeguards the people from an oppressive government. And me personally, I can deal with some speech that offends me as long as it keeps the government away from me and at bay. Thank you. Have a good day.